Naruto is a very long manga and anime series that spans over 700 chapters, all of which follow the adventures of a young orphan ninja by the name of Naruto, whose body acts as a prison for the nine-tailed fox demon, a monster which rampaged through Konoha, the birthplace of the young ninja, 12 years prior to the start of the original series. Over the course of this long series, like Naruto, we start to understand the world and its systems better. One such system being chakra, the power system they use to cast jutsu and other powerful attacks. Chakra is described as being composed of two types of energy, physical energy and spiritual energy, and by manipulating and producing enough of this energy, characters are capable of a bunch of insane feats, which we can use to scale their potency, even dating back to Part 1 Naruto. But the best feat we can look at to gauge his power during the war arc is, in my opinion, the Bijudama he made alongside Killer B, which produced an explosion so massive the manga panel it was shown on also featured the curvature of the planet. After using basic pixel scaling and the visible curvature of the Earth to calc the size of the explosion produced, as well as to find the total volume of land vaporized by the explosion, most calcs end up with a conclusion of about 10 to the 28 joules of energy, which is a multi-continental feat, and this feat would be consistent with others of the time, with Madara Shingai Tensei and even the Ten Tails Bijudamas and Cataclysms producing a similar amount of energy, and I'll leave the calcs to those feats in the description below. But these values are far from the only conclusion for Naruto. The data books, which do hold a lot of weight in my opinion, imply that entities even of Kurama's level should have the capacity to blow up, a planet and quote-unquote turn the world to ash, and feats do somewhat support these planetary statements. Obito, somebody who Naruto and Kurama do scale to while utilizing Biju Sage mode, casually has a planetary feat in the form of the God Tree, being able to grow and extend its massive roots and trunk well over 2,000 kilometers in the air in what was probably under a second, the roots extending fast enough to grab thousands of AMP Shinobi Alliance members, one calc in particular placing the amount of energy required to move such a massive structure this distance at this speed at over 3.9 times 10 to the 32 joules of energy, which is planetary. And surprising enough, this calc doesn't even include the roots of the tree, with separate portions of the calc finding that it would have taken an additional 1.6 times 10 to the 29 joules of energy just to move the roots, which is moon level in and of itself. These planetary fucking tree feats continue well after Obito is defeated though, with Madara later doing some similar shit with the Shinju, extending it around the world, a feat which has been calculated requiring anywhere from 6.8 times 10 to the 32 through 4.1 times 10 to the 34 joules of energy, which is normal through large planetary. Madara also does a bunch of other crazy shit like Skyline Meteor, which has been calculated like moon level, so there's that. It isn't until after Madara is defeated that the feats start to get really crazy though, with Kaguya showing up and damn near immediately replacing the universe around herself with her own pocket time-space containing stars and moons and shit. We talked briefly about creating pocket dimensions with stars and what this equates to in my Natsu video, with calcs placing most feats of this nature around 10 to the 44 joules of energy, which is large star level. Via her ETSO, Kaguya also possesses the ability to destroy her dimensions, most calcs placing this feat at about 10 to the 44 joules of energy too. You could argue Kakashi implies Kaguya was going to destroy all 6 of her dimensions when he says escaping to a separate time space would be pointless, meaning this could potentially be a multi-solar system level thing, but you could also just interpret Kakashi's words to knowing that she could just switch the space to whichever one Team 7 escaped to, of course. There are still ways you could argue Kaguya and her ETSO scale higher. For instance, within the original Naruto databook, the Boruto movie novelization, and the Boruto episode 64 summaries, both the dimensions created by Kaguya and Momoshiki are described as isekai, a term which in a sci-fi setting usually translates to parallel universe, as well as sekai, a term which in the context of objects greater than a planetary size can usually translate to universe, and is often used to describe the universe in fiction such as in Bleach, and even within Naruto itself. Kekai, which is a term that can be translated to pocket universe, is also used to describe these dimensions. The term universe is defined as the totality of known or supposed objects and phenomenon throughout space. The Naruto universe is clearly meant to be based on ours, with Mars and even Saturn existing within their solar system, and similar phenomenon such as the red shifting of light possibly existing within their universe. So the most logical assumption, in my opinion, is that the Naruto universe is at least as big as ours, and obviously creating a time-space of universal size is considered a universal plus feat. If you interpret Kage as being able to destroy all these spaces via her ESO, then she's potentially low multi. I personally don't like low multi Naruto and Bleach metas that much, but I guess they're worth at least mentioning. If this universal stuff is just a little too high for you, then you can always just argue these characters are like multi-solar system level, as Momoshiki's dimension blatantly has stars in the Boruto anime, and creating pocket dimensions, as we discussed in the Naruto video with stars, is usually calced at requiring 1.6 times 10 to the 63 joules of energy, which is multi-solar system level. Of course, there are numerous other arguments you can use to get them higher or lower, but I won't be explaining them here. I personally wouldn't suggest, scaling Naruto higher than Universal Plus, but if you want to, I can't really stop you, I guess. So we finally reached the conclusion of this video, and since you guys already know my opinion on the strength of Naruto, I'm going to end this by asking you guys a question. How strong do you guys think Naruto is? I'd love to hear your opinion in the comments section below. And if you want my opinion on the strength of some other anime characters, feel free to check out my HEO scale. I was dealing with some copyright issues on that video for like 11 months, so that shit is finally out and it has like no fucking views. So be sure to check that out if you have been missing my post or some shit, since a lot of people have just been begging me to come. No, I'm joking. But yeah, I do plan to upload more frequently. I just took like a 5-month fucking hiatus, for work and shit like that. But my editing situation is a little bit better, so I'm gonna try to come back. You feel me? So yeah, I'm out.